final lesson, or final section for today's lesson, covers questions 15 to 21. It says, Tom hiked along a circular trail known as Juniper Loop. The graph shows his distance d from the starting point after t minutes. Identify the domain and range of the function shown in this graph. So remember that domain covers all my x values. So we have 0 is less than or equal to x. And it looks like these are by 15, so that's going to be, which is less than or equal to 165. My range. Recall that that's my y values. My lowest y is 0, and my highest y value is 7. So we're going to go from 0 to 7 inclusive. Again, on my y-axis. Identify the absolute minimum of this function and what does it represent? Well, the minimum is 0 because that's the lowest number that's on the y-axis. Well, 0 in this case represents the distance from start. So that means that Tom's least distance from the starting point. Okay. Taking a look at number 17. In this function, the absolute minimum corresponds to 2 points on the graph. What are the 2 points and what do they represent in this context? So, we had it at 0, 0. And we had it at 165, 0. Tom's least distance from the starting point occurred both at at 0 minutes and 165 minutes, beginning and end. All right. Identify the absolute maximum of the function and what does it represent? That would be 7. And looks like that is the farthest he was away from the starting point. So it was 7. And that was Tom's greatest distance from the starting point. What points on the graphs correspond to the absolute maximum? And what does this mean in the context of Tom's problem? Or Tom's hike, sorry. it looks to be like it's not just like one specific point. It's from this point in time to this point in time, right? And it looks like this point in time looks to be about, this would be 75, so that might be 80. And this is 105, so this might be 110. Okay, so I'm going to say it looks to me that all the points along the graph from t equals 80 to t equals 100. Tom was 7 kilometers away from the starting point between those times. And if you look, it looks like, so since he stayed at 7 kilometers away, more than likely he stopped and took a break. So I'm going to say probably resting. Identify any relative minimums for this function shown in the graph. Any minimums. Now remember that minimums cannot be your endpoints. So I have 5. Identify any relative maximums. Now, this one's going to be a little tricky because most of you would probably want to say 7. But there's also another one. 5 is also a maximum because it's a maximum from here to here. So over this interval of time, 5 is a maximum as well as a minimum. So this would be 5 or 7. On to your final debriefing.